Switchcraft is brought to you live 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern and on Saturday at whatever time I can get to it. Tune in live at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft is brought to you by Marketo. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. Save. Lolworthy, did I just miss it? Did you miss what? We just started. Thank you again, Kimbalina. I appreciate it. Hats off to you. Actually, we'll just keep the hat. We'll keep the hat. I like this hat. All right, now. Audible. What episode is this? This is 220. Episode 220 of Switchcraft is brought to you by Audible. Get a free book and directly support the show by heading on over to runjumpstomp.com/audible. They have thousands of books from every conceivable genre. You're definitely going to find something that you like. Right now, I am currently reading through I almost called it a game, a book called The Ultimate History of Games by Stephen L. Kent. Really, really good book. Lots of quotes from people who were in the industry at the time. So definitely check out that book. You can get it for free. If you decide to stick with Audible, you get another book next month. If you don't decide to stick with Audible, you get to keep your audiobook forever. Again, support the show by heading on over to runjumpstomp.com/audible. It is reading, Vaxxer. I don't care what you say, my friend. I don't care what you say. All right. Let me mention the music at the beginning. No, I'm just going to save that for the end. You can't say that to me. That's what I say to you. All right. Oof, I almost stopped recording. Here we go. All right, welcome back to another episode of Switchcraft. We're going to start today by talking about a bar graph. And this bar graph really illustrates how important handheld gaming has been to Nintendo over the years. This is a graph that is from nintendo.co.jp. So this is an official bit of information, but I found this over on Reddit. Reddit user, who was it? Reddit user Mr. BK XT, whatever, crazy name. Somebody over on Reddit, there's a link in the show notes to it, had posted this bar graph. And if you're just listening to the show, I'll describe it to you. But if you're watching the show, you can see it now. And it's Nintendo hardware sales, units sold by millions, all the way back to the NES. So the thing that that really jumped out to me is, oh my God, you cannot believe like how huge handheld sales are for Nintendo versus home console sales. So, for instance, the NES sold 61.91 million consoles, which is pretty impressive, except for the fact that it didn't really have a lot of competition, so it was basically NES or nothing. And then you look at the Super Nintendo. Finally, Nintendo had some competition, and it went down to 49.1. So they sold basically 10 million consoles less. The N64 sold more than 10 million consoles less, and then the GameCube only sold 21.74 million consoles. These are lifetime sales. All right. You compare that to the Game Boy. The Game Boy sold 118 million consoles, or million Game Boys, I guess. It's really, really crazy to me how much more the Game Boy sold than the NES or the Super Nintendo. Now, I guess it shouldn't be a huge surprise because these are systems that are designed for one person to play. In fact, if you wanted to play one in multiplayer, you had to buy two of them, and then you had to go out and buy an extra accessory called the link cable. That's really crazy to me. The Game Boy sold 118 million consoles. There's only one thing that sold more console or more systems, I guess is the right word to say, more systems than the Game Boy, and that's the Nintendo DS. The Nintendo DS came out swinging with 154 million systems sold for the Nintendo DS. Now that's pretty impressive. I remember when Nintendo unveiled the Nintendo DS and Reggie's up on stage holding it up. I think it was Reggie. And I said to myself, nope, I'm not buying that. That thing looks like a gimmick. That thing looks stupid. I'm not interested. And then finally, the reviews started rolling in about how awesome it was. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to try it out. And I went and bought one. And I remember my wife and I were driving someplace and I was playing Mario Kart DS in the car, where she's driving down the road and I'm playing Mario Kart. And it was awesome. It's a really great system. And it was actually the DS which convinced me to try the Wii, because I had put a lot of hours into playing the DS, and I had so much fun playing the DS that when the Wii came out and they announced it, I was like, you know what? I kind of sat on the sidelines, and Nintendo proved to me that they can't that just because something looks gimmicky doesn't mean that it necessarily is with the DS. And so when they showed off the Wii, I was like, yep, I want one of those. I definitely want one of those because Nintendo, they showed me that they know what they're doing with the DS. So when the Wii came out, I ended up picking one up. Almost kind of like the Halo effect. A lot of people talk about this Halo effect around like Apple products, especially back before like the iPhone came out. This Halo effect came from iPods and things like that, where people would go out and buy an iPod because it was a really good MP3 player, and then they'd start using it and they'd be like, wow, this is actually pretty decent. I wonder if their other stuff that they make is as good as this. And then it kind of spurred on MacBook sales and things like that. And I feel like the Nintendo DS definitely helped the Wii. Now, the Wii sold 101.63 million units. We compare that to the GameCube, which is 21.74 million units. In fact, if you look at the NES to the SNES to the N64 to the GameCube, they continually trended down. Every single time that they brought a new system out, it sold less than the previous system until the Wii. Now, the Wii sold 101 million consoles. That is more than the Game Boy Advanced, which was really surprising to me. The Game Boy Advanced only sold 81.5 million units, whereas the Wii sold that 101, that crazy number. And that shows how huge the Wii was back in the day. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this. They definitely focused. I felt like their marketing during the Wii era was on point. It didn't appeal to me, but I know that it worked by convincing people to try this thing out, people who don't normally game. And at that time, that's what Nintendo was focusing on. They were focusing on expanding the gaming population rather than reaching the core gamer. Now, I feel like they succeeded really, really well in that, but they weren't able to take what they did there and transfer it over to other things. I don't think that there's a lot of people who, other than kids who their first console was the Wii, I don't think that there's a lot of people out there who traditionally didn't really care about games who then bought a Wii and then said, you know what, these video games are fun. I'm going to buy the next video game system, and now we've got a PS4 and stuff like that. So I don't think that that really happened very much, and that's certainly evident with the Wii U. The Wii U only sold 13.56 million units. There's a lot of reasons why that may happen. Number one, the Wii U marketing was absolutely terrible. It was really, really bad marketing. If you look at those commercials, the commercials had really, really cheesy moments in it. They weren't funny. They weren't endearing. They didn't really show off the, what's the word I'm looking for? The reason why you would want to pick up a Wii U. They basically tried to say, look, everybody, we're the family-friendly thing, and if you liked the Wii, you're going to like the Wii U. And then they used like a line like, I think they said, upgrade today or something like that. And that confused a lot of people. It made a lot of people think, hold on, is the Wii U an upgrade to the Wii, or is it a new console? And Nintendo's messaging on the Wii U was so terrible that even people who are invested in the gaming industry were confused and didn't really understand it at first. Like, I remember watching them unveil the Wii U, I believe it was at E3, and I was watching it and I was like, is this something that I buy and hook up to my Wii, or do I buy it to replace the Wii? And, you know, by the end of the presentation, they didn't answer that question. And I thought that was an abysmal mistake. Now, we go back to the graph and we see that the Nintendo Switch has sold 19.67 million units. That means it outsold the GameCube lifetime sales and the Wii U lifetime sales. And I think that that's really good. So what does this graph overall show? Well, it shows that the mobile consoles, or the handheld systems from Nintendo, they always outsell the dedicated home consoles. So we've got the Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance, and the DS and the 3DS. They all sold more than every other home console unit except for the Wii. The only one, the Wii outsold the Game Boy Advance and the 3DS, and it didn't even come close to the Game Boy, and it didn't go anywhere near the DS. But other than the Wii, which is obviously like a blip, it's it doesn't fit with the rest of the graph. I feel like this would be better as two different graphs, but I love this fact that the hardware sales for mobile stuff, or not mobile, for handheld stuff, is so much more. I really think it's a lot more. I think it's very telling that it's a lot more, is what I meant to say. Because the takeaway here is that's probably why the Nintendo Switch is selling so well. There are households that have one PS4. There are households that have one Xbox. And I bet you there's probably a few households that have two Xboxes or two PS4s. I mean, my house has two PS4s. But I think if you were to poll Nintendo Switch owners, PS4 owners, and Xbox One owners, I bet you that you could probably find out that more households have multiple Switches than multiple other consoles. And that's because when you take it out of its dock, it becomes that handheld system that you can walk around and carry with you and play. And that means that multiple people in the house want to have that. They both might want to play at the same time. I know that in my house, I wanted to have that. So I ended up buying one for my son and one for myself so that we could both play our games at the same time. Lolworthy in chat makes a really good point. And they say, I feel like the handheld price point is a big factor into the sales, and I totally agree. All of these systems are cheaper than all of these handheld systems are going to be cheaper at that point when you like if I'm going to go back in time and buy an NES and also go to buy a Game Boy in the same day, you know, the Game Boy is going to be much cheaper. Okay. And because it's so much cheaper, that's a much more appealing thing, both, especially for parents. Kabukin in chat says the Asian markets are a lot more open to handhelds. Get on a train, bus, and plane, and you'll see them playing a DS. That's another thing. Like, in Japan, the households are very, very small for the most part. Stereotypically, they are very small households. They, especially in the cities, and so people tend not to buy a lot of stuff for their house, because why would you do that when you can take it with you? And that's another reason why handhelds tend to do so well, and why Nintendo has been able to survive. A lot of the reason why Nintendo is still around is because of the handheld market. Like, even though the Wii U, like, really bombed, it bombed big time. The 3DS, the sales of the 3DS really probably acted as like a life preserver for Nintendo, keeping them afloat while they were trying to figure out what to do with the Switch. Anyway, I thought it was a very interesting graph and that it would lead to some interesting discussion. So those are my thoughts on it. And if you have thoughts that you want to share, head on over to, you can email me at runjumpstomp@gmail.com. And speaking of, oh, hold on, I got a discussion here from Kabukin. They said, funny thing is, I'm 33 and I work in a professional environment. I thought that my Switch one day, I brought in my Switch one day and played it at lunch. Talk about getting the stank eye. People acted like I was some child for doing that, yet they'll play Candy Crush for hours or hours on end or binge on Netflix on their iPads. I'll never understand. I totally agree with you, Kabukin. I work... and a lot of people would say, where I work, I think a lot of the people that I work with would say that playing video games is childish. And the idea that I would do a podcast about video games, they would think that that's probably ridiculous for a grown man to talk about video games on the internet. But, you know, don't worry about the quote unquote stank eye that they're throwing at you, but that's a funny point. So as I was saying, if you want to get your thoughts about this, about the big dichotomy between handheld games and home consoles, please email me, runjumpstomp@gmail.com. Get a hold of me on Twitter at runjumpstomp. You can join our Discord, runjumpstomp.com/discord, and of course, that's the one thing I'm leaving. Oh, you can call and leave a voicemail at 260-RUN-JUMP. That's right. Once you're 18, no more games. You got to stop. Okay. And TF Wagner, yes, this hat does fit. This hat fits great. This is how you're supposed to wear a hat like this. I bought it at a hat shop. How do I know it fits? Because I asked the guy, is this how it's supposed to fit? And he's like, yep. All right. Let's see. That's right, Vexer, a hat in a hat shop. All right. One of the reasons I feel like the Nintendo Switch is doing so well, I mean, other than the fact that it launched with Breath of the Wild, one of the greatest games of all time, or if you ask me, the greatest game of all time. Feel free to let me know why I'm wrong about that. But one of the reasons that the Switch is doing so well is just the sheer volume of games that are on it. That's not to say that that's all you need, is a high volume of games, because something else that you need from those games is for them to be good. But I found this story interesting. This is via perfectlynintendo.com, and there are a lot of games on the Nintendo Switch. And how many? All right, are there 500 games on the Switch? No. Are there 600 games on the Switch? No. There's 1,006 games on the Switch. This is as of I can't find the time that they posted this, but this is as of 11:37 a.m. on August 4th. 1,006 games are on the Nintendo Switch. In North America, not that many. There are 918 in North America. Europe has 903, and Japan has 589. That is very surprising to me. I expected to see a lot more in Japan than in America and Europe. That's very, very surprising to me. I wonder if that's just because localization for translating something from whatever your language is into Japanese is probably more difficult than translating something from like English over to European languages or something like that. The number of games per publisher is very interesting. The number one publisher on the Nintendo Switch is Hamster. Hamster has published 98 games on the Nintendo Switch. They're the people who make those arcade ports. I can't think of like the Neo Geo games, which like there's just tons of those coming across. The number 2 publisher is Nintendo with 21 games published on the Nintendo Switch. I just found this to be interesting set of numbers. Speaking of games on the Nintendo Switch, we've got, oh gosh, where did it go? Maybe I didn't put it in the show notes. Let me just go to my website real quick. runjumpstomp.com, and here we go. The Nintendo download. These are games that are available on the Nintendo Switch as of this week. So speaking of lots of games coming to the Switch, this week we've got Overcooked 2, Dead Cells, Flipping Death. I got a review copy for Flipping Death. I sent that review copy over to Bravd, who wrote the review for that turn-based RPG that I can't, Battle Chasers Night War. So he's going to be writing our review for that. So look forward to that over at runjumpstomp.com. Salt and Sanctuary is also coming to the Nintendo Switch this week. WarioWare Gold comes to the 3DS this week. And then we've got just a whole bunch of games. There's one that I want to point out to you, and that is Cycle 28. There is, I have posted a first look on my YouTube channel for Cycle 28. That's this really cool top-down, I want to say twin stick shooter to give you the idea of what kind of game it is, but it doesn't control like a twin stick shooter. It controls like almost like Asteroids, which is really, really crazy. Because I would prefer if it controlled like a twin stick shooter, but basically you control the direction and then you have thrust, which I get why they did it that way. I would have preferred it to be a twin stick shooter, but there's a first look for that over at my YouTube channel. Let's see what else is on here that stands out to me. This is kind of interesting. Yoku's Island Express has a demo. This is that, oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Just give me a second to get my brain to work. It's like it's you push a ball around or something. It's supposed to be really, really good. But I don't know much about it. It's like pinball. It's like a pinball game. But anyway, you can find that all on my site at runjumpstomp.com. There's a bunch of games coming to the Switch this week. And that's why we have like over 1,000 games on the Switch already. All right, I'll put that right there. Indie support is a very important thing. I wish there were less 2D platformers, though. I know it's a gaming staple, but it's definitely grown tired of the genre. Well, Lolworthy, I get what you're saying, but I disagree. Just because there's a bunch of them on there doesn't mean that you have to buy them all. That gives you options. You can say, well, I want to play this one. I'm going to skip on that one. And I like that there's lots of them. I do wish that there were more genres represented, because there's definitely some genres that are unrepresented on the Switch, and that's too bad. All right. Let's see. So this is a pretty funny story. Wario had hacked Nintendo of America's Twitter account. This is really kind of hilarious. I'm opening up Twitter right now, so if the video kind of dies for a second, you'll understand why. Nintendo of America says, "We apologize for the bad behavior. about Wario's behavior and don't know how he got control of our account. We've now regained control and are taking necessary precautions to make sure that he won't be able to access it again. Now, what are they talking about? Well, they're talking about this all started off with one tweet from Wario that, or from Nintendo of America, that just said, "Wah, ha 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 ha," Wario's laugh. It was just I think it was 240 characters or 280 characters, I mean, of just the wah ha ha from Wario. And that made me laugh when I saw it. And I just kind of ignored it. And then I didn't realize that he also changed the profile pic, posted videos, was saying things about, hey, here's some Super Mario Sunshine content. You're welcome. Just showing like little mini games from WarioWare Gold. Then they even showed up, they did a poll, who's the best character in WarioWare Gold. That's easy, and all 4 choices were Wario. I voted for the second Wario. The first Wario won it. The last Wario lost, so that's too bad for them. But overall, I think it's really hilarious, and I like that they did that. I think that Nintendo's marketing this time around, speaking of marketing, because we talked about that earlier on the episode, how they dropped the ball with the Wii U. That marketing on the Switch has been really good, and marketing on the 3DS, or marketing this game, is doing really well as well. I think overall that Nintendo they've figured out how to market their stuff these days, and I think they're doing a great job. Something else that I found on Twitter is some footage of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, where you can see different Pokemon basically following the player around. Let me bring it up. So we've got this one is, I don't know what this Pokemon is called. It's this guy with a Venusaur, I guess. I don't know. With a flower on his back. I always named him Onions whenever I had him on. I think it's Bulbasaur actually, but maybe it's like the leveled up version of Bulbasaur. They also there's also a video going around where it's showing off like a Voltorb kind of rolling around behind the character, which I thought was cool. And overall, I think that the graphics of Pokemon Let's Go, they look really good, and I am getting more and more excited about that game, mostly because I'm going to be able to sit down and play it with my son, and we're going to have a lot of fun, especially because they have the 2 players on one Switch thing, which is going to be really neat. But like, the graphics look great, and this makes me excited for the RPG that we're going to be getting at late next year. Which that's going to be really, really exciting. One last thing about Twitter. I posted a Twitter poll. I said, and I talked about this I actually did this, during the show last episode. And I said, now that Nintendo Labo has been around for a while, have you picked one up? Respond with your reasons. And 21% of the people who responded said yes, they have picked one up. 79% had said no. And, I looked through the answers that came in. A lot of people were saying basically it's cool, but I don't have any interest for it. Like, here's Mikey B. Playing, who recently won our Mario Tennis Aces tournament. Nice job, Mikey. They said, I think it's cool, but it interests me personally about 0%. Ted Wagner says, I have the variety kit, lost interest while building the fishing pole, and haven't gotten back to it. Folding cardboard just isn't that fast and is best done on a flat surface. Our kitchen table isn't conducive to having multiple hour-long projects left on it. Manny Sneer says, I don't have space for it. Bustler says that their kids are going to lose interest. A lot of people said that they thought it was too expensive. Mango says they don't want the clutter, and that's just a few of the answers. And I totally agree. A lot of these people are saying the same thing that I think, that we just don't want to have stuff in our house, especially cardboard stuff that's easily damaged. So if you haven't voted on that poll, the poll is now closed, but That's your responses to whether and why you did or did not pick up Nintendo Labo, and very few people did that answered the poll. All right, two last things before I get out of here. Octopath Traveler, I got an email from Rock Roberge. It says, "Hey Bill, I'm hooked on Octopath Traveler. I absolutely love the game. The only other JRPG that I really enjoyed was Child of Light on PS4. Others that I've tried have been way too complex. Do you know of any similar titles on Switch that would appeal to fans of Octopath Traveler / Child of Light? I'm hoping that Square Enix ports the Bravely games to the Switch based on the success of Octopath Traveler." Excuse me. Sorry about that. Thanks much, Rock in New Hampshire. All right, so for me, I haven't played it yet, but I hear that I Am Setsuna is a very good game that is available on the Nintendo Switch and actually launched really early on in the Switch's life cycle. So that's one that I have heard recommended. As far as what other people recommend, that's what I'm hoping that you guys will do. So if you guys want to, if the listeners want to help out Rock Roberge, and let us know what games, if you've played Octopath, what games on the Switch do you think that he would also enjoy? So hopefully we'll get some answers on that, because I really don't know of anything that's very similar to that for myself. But that's just me. All right, last thing before I get out of here. There is now a bonus episode up for patrons, and this is going to be something that I plan on doing. I've been kind of thinking about it for a while. I wanted to offer some bonus content for the patrons. Up until now, it's mostly been just videos of my drawings, which have kind of died off because I've just kind of had drawer's block, I guess. Or I don't want to say artist, because I'm not an artist, but it's mostly just been because people wanted a way to support the show, and so I said, okay, I'll make one because you guys asked for it. But I want to give something back to those patrons, and so what I did is this morning, Kodiak Moonwolf had dropped a story in our Discord channel where people post links about Nintendo and stuff for me to talk about on the show, and I looked at that and I said, well, this is definitely something that I have an opinion on, but I don't know that it would fit into a Nintendo show. So what I ended up doing is I sat down and I just kind of recorded my thoughts for about 15 minutes, and then I posted it to the Patreon, made like some quick artwork to go with it. And if you guys want to check out that bonus episode, you can do so by going over to patreon.com/runjumpstomp. For as little as $1, you'll get access to that episode. And of course, all future episodes. I'm not going to commit to doing it one a week or anything like that yet, just because I'm not sure like where I want to go with it. Right now, it's kind of a very organic thing. And if there's something that I want to talk about in the gaming industry that doesn't really fit into the Switchcraft universe, then that's where I'll end up putting it for now. So again, that's patreon.com/runjumpstomp. All right. It's time to wrap up the show. Before we go, I want to talk about the music that you heard at the beginning of the show and you're about to hear again. And that is a song called Delfino Plaza by Box Monkey Studios. They sent me this and they said, "Can you play this on your show?" I said, yes, thank you so much, because I asked them if I could play their Me Channel theme, which is really cool. So this is kind of like an acoustic, their version of the Delfino Plaza music from Super Mario Sunshine. If you want to check out their stuff, you can go to runjumpstomp.com/music for links to all of their stuff. Don't forget that if you want the full show, you can either watch live at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp, or you can watch the videos after the fact over at my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/runjumpstomp. If you're looking to support my content, you can do so by joining the Patreon, just like I was saying before, or just head on over to runjumpstomp.com/thank you. And there's lots of different ways that you can support the show over there. All the links there help me create more content. Thank you big time to everybody who has ever supported the show. You guys are amazing. And speaking of people that I need to thank, let's thank the people who have been here for the live chat. We've got Kodiak Moonwolf, Vaxer, Atretus003, Awate86, Banananin, Kabukin, Decaf Smurf, Hopple, Jamie144, Kimbalina66, who is the reason I'm wearing this hat right now, because they subscribed for 14 months in a row over on Twitch. Lulworthy, Lumberjoke. Lulworthy just followed the channel, by the way. Thank you very much. And Kabukin cheered for 305 bits during that. I appreciate that. Raptor James, TF Wagner, VNK, Virgo Pros, Zor Nand. Happy to have you all here. I will see you all soon, and stay rad. Bye-bye.